despite the geographical isolation and cultural distinctiveness of Native American tribes. From the Western world, many of their customs and views on relationships had intriguing similarities to other societies. However, these customs also carried unique twists rooted in the social, spiritual, and environmental contexts of each tribe. For some Native American societies, intimate relationships were closely intertwined with religious beliefs, while for others, they were governed by communal duties or practical considerations. Through the rituals and traditions that governed relationships, we gain a glimpse of the importance of intimacy. As more than a personal bond, it was often an expression of tribal identity, a path to spiritual well-being, or even a communal asset. Cultural perspectives on intimacy and marital relations. Among various Native American tribes, relationships between men and women were seen through distinct cultural lenses. For some, relationships were highly regulated by taboos and prohibitions, while others placed fewer restrictions, emphasizing personal choice and communal bonds. The Apache, for example, held strong beliefs about the timing of intimate interactions, particularly during the agave harvest. They believed that intimacy during this period would negatively affect the fruit, rendering it tasteless and inedible. This practice demonstrates how Native American communities often linked everyday tasks with broader spiritual beliefs. In contrast to the Apache, the Comanche embraced a different view, especially concerning intimacy before important events like battles or journeys. Rather than avoiding physical closeness, to conserve strength, they leaned into it, spending days with their partners to build morale. This reveals an intriguing view of intimacy, not only as a personal experience, but as a source of emotional strength. For the Comanche, the act of being close to a loved one reinforced their bravery and commitment as warriors, blending the personal and the communal in a unique way. The variations among tribes were vast. While some viewed intimacy primarily as a means to conceive children, others saw it as a way for men to achieve satisfaction, without necessarily considering the desires of women. For many, this distinction in perspective underscored a fundamental gender imbalance, reflecting the power dynamics and societal expectations within each community. This aspect sheds light on how gender roles influence not only day-to-day life, but also the intimate connections between individuals. The role of spiritual and ritual significance in intimacy. For some tribes, intimacy and relationships were steeped in ritual significance. The Mandan, for instance, practiced a ritual known as inviting the buffalo, where young women wrapped only in animal skins would bring food to the elder's tent as part of a ceremonial gathering. This event wasn't merely an act of hospitality, it held symbolic weight, honoring the continuity between the past and future generations after the elders had eaten. The younger women would escort them into the forest, where the elders engaged in rituals meant to ensure a successful hunting season. In this context, intimacy was more than a personal interaction. It was seen as a spiritual exercise, deeply connected to survival and prosperity. Interestingly, not all tribes held physical interactions as essential to these rituals. In cases where elders were physically unable to participate, they instead engaged in prayers for a prosperous hunt. This adaptation shows the flexibility of tribal customs, highlighting how spirituality and practical considerations often took precedence over physical actions. For tribes like the Mandan, intimacy with spiritual undertones reinforced a sense of unity between humans and nature, linking human reproduction with animal abundance. Another tribe with a unique approach to ritualized intimacy was the Ojibwe. In their community, shamans held powerful roles, sometimes manipulating spiritual beliefs for personal gain. In a troubling practice, shamans would forewarn certain women of a spiritual visit, claiming that a powerful spirit would inhabit another's body to engage with her. This warning often instilled fear and left the woman vulnerable to the shaman, who would later pose as the spirit. This custom reveals a darker side of tribal spiritual beliefs, where trust in religious figures could lead to exploitation. For the Ojibwe, the shaman's position was so revered that challenging his actions could be considered sacrilegious, creating a complex social trap for the women involved. Punishments for violating intimacy norms. Among Native American tribes, violations related to intimate relationships were treated with severe repercussions, often tailored to reflect each tribe's values.